Galvatron, evil leader of the Decepticons from the year 2005 and onward. Reformatted from Megatron himself after he was tossed out of Astrotrain. His new form comes from Unicron. And yes, this video is the evolution of Galvatron, all the way from his beginnings in the movie in 1986 to the very latest ones that came out at the tail end of 2025. Plus maybe a couple bonuses. But we are going to go through each one. Some I may not have, I'll just show you pictures, but when they make 5 of them, kind of hard to get. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm Captain Kyle, welcome aboard. If you've been watching for a while, thanks so much for coming back, that is totally awesome of you. And we're going to have some fun with Galvatron in all his incarnations. But before we go into this, I do want to thank our sponsor, Toy Hacks, who makes amazing G1 and G2 decals to replace the ones on your originals, plus enhancement decals from the later lines like Combiner Wars and Titans Returns and Siege, Age of the Prime Studio Series. You can really glow up your Transformers with their decals. Plus they have backdrops and armory. You definitely want to check them out. Just check out this stuff over here. I mean, Alpha Trion, woof, glowed up. Check them out at toyhacks.com. But we are going to get into the evil Galvatron, who is voiced by both Leonard Nimoy and Frank Welker in the US. And we're going to have some fun along the way. Be right back. So this is the original Galvatron that came out in 1986. And I have to say that I had no idea that he was formerly known as Megatron, because I did not see the movie in the theaters. I did not even know it was in the theaters. And I was a big Transformers fan at the time. Next thing I knew, there was this season 3 of Transformers, and this new guy, Rodimus Prime, was in charge of the Autobots, and Galvatron was the leader of the Decepticons? What's that about? The only hint that I had that he was formerly Megatron was, I think it was Astrotrain, I could be wrong, but when Cyclonus was asking for Energon so that they could go find Galvatron. There's a lot of ons in this. Someone mentioned Megatron and Astrotrain said,
well, they were the same guy.
Again, that was the only hint I had, and I wasn't sure what it meant because in the catalog, this was listed as the Decepticon City Commander. Now they had the Military Operations Commander, they had the Air Commander, Starscream, and even this tech spec didn't give away the fact that he was formerly known as Megatron, because it said he was determined to rule the Decepticons. Like, at least a third of the Decepticons are determined to lead the Decepticons. I mean, the Triple Changers tried, Starscream constantly tried, in the comics, Shockwave took over. I mean, so that wasn't quite the hint. I just thought it was a brand new character. But then I saw the movie, and I cried when Optimus Prime died. I'm okay. It's been a while. I think I'm almost over it. And Megatron was reformatted into Galvatron, and sounded nothing like he did in the cartoon that I had been watching. But I did see in the credits, it was Leonard Nimoy. I, Galvatron, will crush you just as Megatron crushed Prime. And you'll die trying just like Megatron. Anyways, so I had this toy. It's not in my collection any longer. This was a loan from my dear friends Tony and Rose, who run RetroCon, which is a great con that I go to every year. They are not sponsoring this video, that's Toy X. But you should also check out RetroCon. They're in Oaks, Pennsylvania, every September. And if you go to retrocons.com, because they've had more than 10 of them, you can definitely find out more information. And they have great guests and tons of toys. But again, they were kind enough to loan me this one. And he does have what looks very similar to the fusion cannon. He also has this little black gun for reasons. And let me put him on the turntable of doom, and we can take a look at him from all sides. So basically he has electronics. I did not put in a new battery, and I don't want to. It just makes electronic sounds and lights, and he's basically a laser cannon. In fact, he looks a lot like the alt form of Straxus, which is why Straxus kind of was based on one of his molds. But Straxus was a character from the Marvel comics. But this rather fearsome guy, who has again a very similar arm weapon to Megatron. Again, I didn't realize who was Megatron. I figured it was, he was a trendsetter. But he is like 9.5 inches in his original form. So pretty large. Now, a lot of people are like, why don't you do an evolution to Megatron? That would be over several videos. That may happen one day, but Galvatron, there's quite a few less, because we're also not going to cover the ones from Armada and Robots in Disguise. We're mainly sticking with the G1 line with a couple exceptions. But let's go over some posability. I'm going to take off his weapons. Now, he is a G1 character, so he doesn't have ankle swivels. But what's interesting is he does actually have the ability to put his right foot forward, and his left foot for that matter. So he does have the ability to kind of kick a little bit. And he actually has knees, so you can bend him at the knee, which I didn't even realize that when I had the original, because I am so used to having the toys of this era not really do much in the way of posability. Now, can he spin, or rather twist at the waist? Because there's no side kicks. Don't even think about that. Now, if you move down this handle, you can actually twist him around, all the way around at the waist. But that's the only way to get him to do that, which again, an improvement over the posability of the original Megatron. Now, his arms could go all the way around. He does have a very, I don't even want to call it an elbow. It's like his wrist can bend in a very disturbing way. It's just, that's not really an elbow to me. But his arms can go out to the side a bit. The head, there is no turning. But again, this was an improvement over a lot of the Series 1 and Series 2 Transformers, and even better than some of the ones that were in Series 3. So this one, the stickers are pretty good. If you have one with less than ideal stickers, well, you know where to go, toyhacks.com. But let's take a look at his alt mode. So there he is in his laser cannon mode. He's almost a tank, which, you know, kind of makes sense considering that his tank form eventually would become the form of Megatron. And from the tip of his cannon to the end of his, I don't know, brace suspension in the back, he's 13¼ inches long. So he is a pretty big boy. This here is the button that you press to activate the electronic noises. And you would actually have a switch here that you could change the noises as well. To be honest, I've never been a big fan of electronic noises coming out of Transformers, so once in a while a light's okay, but so that's that mode. Now what's interesting is he could also become a gun. Yes, like a futuristic gun, but nonetheless a gun, because you could take this part and make it into, yeah, like a handle, and he had a trigger right here. So I don't think you could rob a liquor store with this. They would look at it and be like, are you threatening me with the Transformers toy? Not that I would advocate for you to do any type of robbery anyway. I just opened up the battery cover. I happen to have a 9-volt battery, which is what you need for this. Maybe we'll just give it a little shot. Okay, that is scary. The trigger and the button do the same thing. Let's switch it to one side. And the other side. That almost sounds gastric. So lights and sounds, and they still work, but I am gonna remove this battery just in case I want to put it in something else. So there you go, the very first Galvatron. And because he actually has wheels on his treads and his base here, let's give it a roll test just for the heck of it. Yeah, no, not really. Barely. It's more of a slide. Still, it began a legacy that's actually went through some of the legacy toys, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So that was 1986, and it would not be for another 19 years before we would see him return. And he would return in the form of a reissue. Yes, the purple reissue. So I'm gonna zoom that out so you can see him. He also comes with a gun. I'm not sure where I placed the gun, but this is the Takara purple reissue, and I don't know if I put all the stickers on him. I don't think I did, but he was colored purple to match more of his cartoon and movie appearance. A little dusty. So this toy actually survived the purge. I decided to keep him, and I just really liked this version of Galvatron. Now all the posability is exactly the same, and they actually did the next year reissue a special eHobby one in the original toy colors. But this, I don't know that it was ever released in the US, but it was released in Japan, and that's the one that I got. So, as he is from Japan, wouldn't you know it, it needs AAA. Not AA, which I happen to have right here, but AAA. Because apparently he says some phrases in Japanese. So let me check real quick. Unfortunately, I have plenty of AA, don't know where the AAA are. Unless you guys can just wish and wish. So get the screen, say AAA, 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 and AAAs. Wait, let's see if these work. Okay, that was cheesy, but you know, once in a while, gotta have some cheese. I don't think I ever put the batteries in. I'm imagining that this will work fine. I mean, it was 19 years after the original came out, and it's been 21 years since this toy came out. So it's been a little while. Let's see, pressing the button. He's got the transformer noise. All right, move the switch to the left. We'll do these sounds again when he's in cannon mode. And move it to the right. So those are phrases in the voice of the Japanese voice actor for Galvatron. And obviously, I unfortunately cannot speak Japanese, so I can't really tell you what it is that he's saying, but I'm sure there are translations online. But the electronics work fine, and it is a better looking version color-wise than the original. Same mold, obviously. And when we put him into his cannon mode, let's check out the... I'm going to point it directly there so you can see the lights a little bit better. That's because the studio lights are so bright. And he actually rolls better than the original. Nice. And of course, you can also put him in the gun mode, and he can still say things. I think there's 5 different phrases. So, 2005, which is an appropriate year for a new Galvatron. But again, 2006 was basically the original colors, but as an eHobby exclusive. And in 2008, we got the Universe Galvatron, who changed into a tank and was much smaller. He was basically what would be considered a deluxe class. He has a Decepticon symbol in white on his shoulder. He has a firing missile that actually fires pretty well. His left fist is actually just molded without a hole. Shut up, Logan. And his right hand is open, so he's not really able to carry weapons other than his tank barrel on his arm. Now he does have some dust and light piping that goes through the back of his head, makes his eyes glow orange. Now I realize in the show, Decepticons had red eyes, Autobots had blue eyes. For the toys, that was never necessarily all that adhered to. But he was the first Galvatron that we had in many years. And of course, I just sent the missile shooting off the table. Well, good thing I've already showed how that works. I actually had to push his shoulder a little forward because it was a little bit dislocated. That happens when you're in a lot of battles. Dislocated limbs. But he's on the turntable of doom. Let's turn him around and around and around. Now this was a universe line, which post Beast Wars, things started getting better. But at this point, there were no ankle swivels. However, these pieces here could actually move, so you could kind of use them kind of as ankle swivels. So an early prototype ankle swivel could be. Now, his back has these treads on it. You can have them out like that. You can kind of have them in like that. It really depends on how you want to display them. But let's go through some posabilities because we are getting to a more posable figure. Now he could, I believe, and his legs could come off. They were actually designed so that if they came off, you could put them back on as far as the lower legs. But yeah, for his legs, he can actually do a full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. And you can take off the leg. This was in 2008, so we're talking this toy is 18 years old. Old enough to serve in the military, not old enough to drink. He's also able to kick forward. He could kick back, so you have to move his butt cover out of the way. He could do an amazing side kick. In fact, so amazing, he could practically kick behind him. No knees. Wait, hold on. He does have knees. My mistake. Had one of his legs discombobulated. So he's got knees, and they actually bend more than 90 degrees. And is there a swivel? Yes, there is a swivel with that. I guess they call it a mushroom peg. Somebody just recently told me, and of course I forgot, because getting up there in age. Experience, lad. Something you'll never get if you don't get back to the city. All right. He twists at the waist all the way around. His arms can go all the way around, as long as you make sure that those treads are not in the way. His arm on the left can kind of go off to the side. His arm on the right, not as posable. You can move the shoulder back and forth. bends at the elbow, like doubled over on the left hand. The right hand, he is blocked at just, he can do 90 degrees. The fists don't actually twist. They turn for the transformation. The head can actually turn all the way around. So a much smaller figure than the original. Isn't that right, Mr. Stormy? He's about, if you count from his head, about 5 1/4. If you count from the top of his turn, he's closer to 6. Do you have to put your tail right there? So that is his robot mode. Let's take a look at his vehicle mode. So there he is as a tank. And again, his missile flew over there and I didn't go get it. So had to deal with not having that available. But he looks pretty cool. I'm not sure what kind of tank he is. I'm sure I could have looked it up, but that'd be like way too much trouble. Now, apparently he has a walking tank mode that they kind of abandoned, and you could kind of put him into approximation of that. I'm not going to bother trying. Feel free to look that up if you have this figure or one of the other molds, because there will be more, and see if you can put that together. But he does have the ability to move his turret all the way around. You cannot change the attitude and shoot planes out of the sky. It's got a little missile launcher thing here, and it says Galv 25 on the side. Now, this was released in 2008. It's only 24 years after the Transformers came out. So this was a little bit jumping the gun. We've seen it before, but still, we finally got another Galvatron, a new mold of one, and from turret to, he's about 5 3/4 inches. If I had the missile in there, he might be closer to 6. Now, in the same year, they did have the Hanky Hinky, which slightly different colors, a little more accurate to the original character, that is. But there he is. And that very same year, they did a special lucky draw. I did not win. I did not enter. There were 5 of them, and he's in gold. So, Electron, but that was like before his time. Anyways, that was the beginning of this Galvatron. But then there came from the Challenge of Cybertron, which was a 3-pack, which had Rodimus, Cyclonus, and Galvatron. Now, the Challenge at Cybertron pack, which I've already shown in the Cyclonus evolution, that version, but basically the same exact tank. And I actually have to not lose this missile, but I need to move his cannon around because I actually just took this for the first time out of the package. So he is fresh, though he still has kind of wonky loose limbs. I'm not going to go through the posability because it's the same posability as the other, but as you can see, there is major differences in the deco. He's got a dark Decepticon symbol on his shoulder, much lighter gray, much more purple, still has the light piping for his eyes, just a little more cartoon accurate. Oh, this guy has wheels. I forgot to do the roll test. It's okay. They actually made some minor improvements to the mold as the years went on. But yes, the Challenge at Cybertron, a little bit lighter in shade. So there he is as a much lighter colored tank, a super light gray. Almost harkens back to Megatron, but I have to say, not my favorite mold of Galvatron. I mean, after so many years, finally getting one was nice, but the 2010 Challenge at Cybertron is the same old song and dance, and you would think they'd be done, but no. So there he is. The orange is a bit darker, almost red, and he still has the light piping going through his eyes. I'm not going to transform this guy because you've seen the tank mode twice already, and in the interest of keeping this not as long as it could be of a video. I know some of you like really long videos, but I need to transform all these guys, and that takes time. So let's go on to the next one, but we'll bring him back, I swear. Now, normally I don't include these, but I am including the Shattered Glass version of Galvatron. He was a BotCon exclusive, and I happen to have kept him. And he is a remold recolor of Evac. He also has a light piping, which is blue, and he does have rotors that you can spin on his arm as a weapon, and a hook that you can actually extend and use the button to pull it back. He also has these 2 missiles on his back, which he uses cyber key, which I don't have his actual cyber key. I'm not sure where that went. It's around somewhere. But we'll use that in his vehicle mode to bring forward the missiles. Because right now you can pretty much just bring them up like that, and you can kind of bring them over his head to fire, but there's not quite enough room to have them go straight down on his shoulders. Zoom that out a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But that's good for fighting aerial Autobots, I guess you would say. Now, just like Evac, from head to toe, this one is about 6 3/4 inches. So a good size, and in cool Galvatron colors. His hook can turn, as can his rotor, but let's check out some posability. Now again, this was before ankle swivels, so he didn't get those, but he could do a full goes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. He could kick forward, kicking back, unless you moved the missiles out of the way, was a little interfered with. Side kick, split side kick. He does bend at the knee, just about 90 degrees, maybe slightly less. And he does have swivels right above the knee. Could he twist at the waist? Yes, he could, all the way around. Now the arms could go all the way around were it not for these parts of his tail in the way. Tail always gets in the way. Right, Logan? Could bend at the elbow. He does have swivels, and his head could turn all the way around as well. And he could kind of look up, but that's like part of the transformation. That's like looking up at the waist. All right, let's get him in his vehicle mode. So there he is in his helicopter mode. He does have a button on the side that can make his rotors spin. He also has landing gear, which isn't always the best at staying in place if you press down on it. Again, he's got the hook that can go down and up. And what every good rescue helicopter needs is a pair of missiles that can come across the sides. So you should probably turn the hook so it's facing backwards before you fire these, and then you can fire them without a lot of force. But in helicopter mode, he's actually about 10.5 inches long, has a nice Decepticon symbol there. And again, considering that BotCon exclusives, when it was the official Transformers convention, they basically gave them repaints. This was a pretty good way to have this shattered glass version of Galvatron because the head sculpt was pretty darn close to begin with. So there you have it, the shattered glass Galvatron. This came out in 2011, and it's a nice break from all those universe tanks. But then, in a really wild change, in 2012, we got the Alternity version of Galvatron. Now, this Galvatron here is a repaint, and not the most stable one at that, of the Alternity Megatron. The Alternity line, very short-lived line. The vinyl tech and alternators were, I think, 124. These were like 132 scale cars that they had Optimus, several different colors. They had Megatron, several different colors, and then they did a purple one and called him Galvatron. But the face sculpt, as you can see, really looks a lot more like Megatron. And this line did not last too long, even though the cars are cool. I have a couple of the Optimus Primes. I have the silver one and the red one, which is more like his original colors. Again, his head looks like Megatron, and he does have some extra weapons other than the swords. He can actually swing out these forearm blades for up close and personal destruction and death. Because, you know, he's back to being evil. Now, as far as posability is concerned, he can pretty much do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's got a little crotch guard here, but he can kick forward, he can kick back, he can do a side kick. His legs are just very hollow. Bends at the knee, it's kind of a high knee. Say hi to your knee. High knee. Oh, and from head to toe, before I forget, he's about 5 inches. If you go from the top of his hood, he's closer to almost 6. Twisting at the waist doesn't happen. With these, like the alternators and such, they were more concerned with making the car look extremely accurate as opposed to the robot looking cartoon accurate. Arms can go all the way around, could bend at the elbow. He does have a swivel, but his doors get in the way of his arms. Head could turn all the way around. Cool looking figure. Like I said, the line did not last very long. He does actually have ankle swivels, so he's the first one to actually have those. Might be part of the transformation. I'm trying to remember. Actually, just looking, they had 3 different versions: Convoy, red, silver, black. They had silver Megatron, a premium Le Mans blue, and then a diamond black Megatron. They had a Bumblebee in yellow, a Cliff in red. They had a Skywarp and a Starscream, a Thundercracker, a Atlas, a Goldbug, Ultra Magnus, and then Bonzatron and Galvatron. So bigger than I thought, but still not nearly as many as in some other lines. All right, let's see if I can get this into vehicle mode. All right, I think I got it for the most part. Just like the alternators and the vinyl tech, they are very, very complex. But the detail is amazing. The headlights, the Nissan symbol, it's there. It's very small, but you can see it on both sides. The doors open, there are seats inside, sword just fell off the bottom. But there are seats inside. There is a steering wheel. It is on the right side. So this is definitely a left lane forward driving type vehicle. You can even open up the hood. It's got an engine in there. Has nice rear view mirrors. The detailing on these in car mode is amazing. It's just the robot mode, a little much, but rolls well enough, even if I might not have it perfectly in shape. But the roll test does well enough. Though these swords don't seem to like to stay, they are supposed to plug into the bottom for storage. And yeah, okay, they're staying for the moment. Let's hope that stays. So that is Alternity, one you may not have been aware of. But after all that and new molds, we go back to the tank mold once again. This is the Specialists one. It was an interesting set because it has Galvatron, Astrotrain, and Octane, basically from the Universe Classics line. Looks a bit metallic-y, but again, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to change it into that. That's what it looks like, only in different colors. But yes, another redeco of Galvatron. But this was in the Generations line, the Specialist Decepticons. There was also Specialist Autobots, which is another set that I'm going to break out at one of these points. But after all these tanks, and again, pretty much the same mold, maybe slight improvements, slight changes to the colors, we finally get into Titan's Return, which is a much bigger Galvatron than some of the ones that we've had before. He stands on his feet about 7.5 inches. It's got the big honking cannon, looks a lot more like the G1. Now the thing is, this is from Titan's Return, so he is a Headmaster. So he's got a little guy named Sovereign that you can pop off and his face disappears, and there he is. The face without the framing of the Galvatron almost looks like Megatron, but a much more purple version and not a tank anymore. He must spin on the turntable of doom. He is in fact a triple changer, which is pretty interesting. He does have this cannon, though to point it forward, you need to take one of his shoulder pads, which he brought over from the 80s, and flip it up. Otherwise, it interferes. But still a cool looking version. Nice Decepticon symbol on his chest, the weird abs that some robots have. Let's go through some posability. There we go. We got it to point forward, and it actually went. You didn't have to do that, so that's interesting, but sometimes it can interfere depending on the angle. But okay, let's see. He can do a full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme without a problem. He can kick forward. He can kick back, but it runs into this piece, which we'll talk about later. He can do a side kick, split side kick, bends at the knee, and he's got this nice little slicer that's gonna gouge out Autobot testiculars. He does swivel all the way around. Can he twist up the waist? Yes, he can. It does cause this piece to kind of move back a little bit, but not a big deal. Now his arms can go all the way around, but you need to move his shoulder pads up. And very difficult to do on the side with the cannon, but you can basically fold his arm over without the cannon. So bends at the elbow. It has a swivel, but swiveling inwards, you got this tread on the back that causes that to be a problem. But his arms can go out to the side. Now his head with the mask cannot turn. If you put the mask away, which you have to basically open that, the Titan Master can turn. But when he's got that mask, you can't turn his head. Still, overall, a cool looking version of Galvatron, very purple, nice Decepticon symbol, some nice detailing. Let's transform him. So there he is as a laser cannon, and you can see his Sovereign Headmaster is actually standing on the back, just because, you know, he can. And it's a pretty cool cannon. It's about 11 inches in length, and definitely gives us those G1 movie vibes. But there is a third form. Indeed there is. As a spacecraft slash plane slash, I don't know, some kind of aerial vehicle. And in this case, he has a little spot for his Titan Master to sit in. And you can even add his cannon to this mode. So this aircraft, spacecraft is about 11 inches with the cannon, without about 9 inches. So the triple changing Titans returns. Kind of clever, kind of clever. Didn't really need the third form, but you know, it's fine. Which brings us to the Japanese Legends version, which as you can see is a lighter shade of purple. All the same posability, except you may notice there's something a little bit different about his head. And his deco for that matter. So when this came out, Toy Hacks came out with a sticker sheet. And for a while when you bought the sticker sheet, they had this helmet available that you could put on that actually allows you to turn his head. Now, the helmet can come off, obviously, because you need to in order to remove the Titan Master, but it does allow a lot more posability when it comes to the head, all the way around. The forms are the same, the colors are a little bit different, but the deco, he's got some nice additional stickers, and because it is the Japanese one, there's also the chrome. A lot more chrome on this one than on the US, because they like chrome over there. And even has stickers there for like a console. So better deco, better stickers, and a helmet. I was not going to include this, but a little while before I was about to do this video, I stopped at a store that I quite often visit called Play With This in Merchantville, New Jersey. And they happen to have this one, and I was like, what is that? And I was informed about the helmet and the stickers and it being Japanese, and I'm like, okay. And they had a sale going on, so that was all good. But just when you thought it was safe, another one of the tank Megatrons. This one is a Platinum Edition. He came with a repaint of the Rodimus Prime from the Titanium line. And again, a nicer deco, a little more orange than the last one, but very nice metallic paint. Back to the Decepticon symbol on the shoulder. And I had his missile, but I think he got knocked over by Paul and went flying, so now I gotta find it again. But I'm not gonna transform him again. We've seen this form way too much. Now with Unicron, the HasLab, there was a very little itty bitty tiny, like super small Galvatron. And I now have Unicron, but I can't seem to find that little Unicron. Now, since I bought it secondhand, I don't know if that was included or if I just misplaced it somewhere. But regardless, it doesn't transform anyway. I think what we want to take a look at is the Kingdom version of Galvatron. So yes, Galvatron comes with a matrix and these two like spaceship type things that can also combine to form a gun, or you can put him on his back for storage. But this one was probably the best Galvatron we've had in a very long time. And people are very excited for this. I mean, look at the deco, the posability. I am sure that I have reviewed this before, but let's just go through real quick. I mean, full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme, ankle swivels, kicking forward, kicking back, kicking to the side, split side kick, kneeing, and again with that scrape off the testicles type weapon, swivels. Now, as far as twisting at the waist, he can kind of. A little bit back and forth, but unless you take these and move them up, at that point, even then, yeah, it's not going to go all the way around. But he's still got some articulation in the waist. Arm goes all the way around, bends all the way over at the elbow. I'll show on the other side the swivel, which is very limited because you get some interference by the tread, but you can swivel a little bit back and forth. And his head can turn all the way around. Comes with the matrix, which you can put around his neck, and he can be like, Unicron, answer me! I now have that which you most fear. Something like that. A great deco. People were very happy with this Earthrise Galvatron, which came out in 2021, same year as the Unicron and the itty bitty one. Oh, his hands do twist, by the way. Didn't mention that, but they also fold in, so that's kind of a nice bonus. And his transformation is not that different from Titan's Returns, but he doesn't have that third form. So there he is as his laser cannon. You can actually take the two halves of the gun ship thing. This isn't the last Starfighter. It's not a gunship, but you can put them on either side, and you can even put the matrix here. And he's got wheels. Doesn't roll that well, but maybe if I aligned the treads a little better, a little bit better. So there he is. The penultimate, you would think. But then, the Generation Selects in the original toy colors came out. It's a nice homage, very cool. Transforms the same way, very similar form to this one. And then, behold, Galvatron. A purple, somewhat translucent version. Oop, I did put these back. That is an homage to him transforming from Megatron to Galvatron. And he came with a lot more of the little itty bitty guys to go with Unicron. And then the Studio Series 86 version. They basically took the Kingdom, made his purple a little bit more blue to make him match the movie a little bit more. And to be honest, why didn't they just start out with this color in the first place? Well, because they wanted to sell 4 molds of the same character. So Kingdom came out in 2001, the Generation Selects in 2021, Behold Galvatron in 2022, then in 2023, they released the Kingdom one in Legacy packaging. All it was is a package refresh, same exact figure. So if you missed out on the Kingdom one, just get the Legacy one if you want that one. But then they did the Transformers the movie in 2025. So there's a lot of Galvatrons, and a lot of them have matrices, which is, a little much. But then our final Galvatron, also from 2025, is from Cyberworld. And he is the smallest of the official ones. He is 4 inches tall, and he changes into a Junkion Dragon, whatever that is. He has this interesting weapon that can flip out the flames. You can even turn the flames and bring it back in. This one is more meant for kids and definitely has some limited posability. He also has this kind of gutting weapon hook that becomes his tail as he becomes a Junkion Dragon. Now you would think, looking at the wings, that he would become like some kind of jet, but no, he does not. Posability-wise, believe it or not, he can do just about a full toes-up Jean-Claude Van Damme, though it doesn't quite go exactly all the way across. But he can kick forward, back is a little bit not very good, side kick, and he bends at the knee actually more than 90 degrees. So that's all good. There's no twisting at the waist, his arms go back and forth, there's no elbows or twisting, and the head doesn't turn. But this is one of the less expensive made for kids Cyberworld toys, and I just wanted to include him because it wouldn't be complete without him. And the transformation, pretty simple. There he is as a Junkion Dragon. Again, whatever that is. It's got a Decepticon symbol on his forehead. The tail you can shove right into his ass. There's a square peg there, and there he is. Now you can actually take this weapon and plop it on top. Makes him look even less like a dragon. The one thing I will say, when you are transforming him back, which is very, again, simple, you may want to push this head down. Don't. Not until you nearly get him back into form, because it might automatically go down, but if you try to force it, you will break it. So that's a lot of Galvatrons. I mean a ton, but not that many molds. The only other Galvatrons I have are a couple third-party ones that are the same mold, but smaller than any of these. They do have simple transformations, and I'll put links in the description to these and to all of these. So a lot of Galvatrons. And I didn't even throw the ones from Robots in Disguise or Armada in here. Well, the Unicron Trilogy. But that is the evolution of G1 Galvatron with a couple others thrown in. And yeah, there's a lot of them. But I think it's fun having so many Galvatrons. And if you are having fun watching these videos, by all means, feel free to subscribe. And again, I do want to thank our sponsor for this video, Toy Hacks. They have amazing stickers. They don't have any more of the helmets for this one, I checked. But they do have sticker sheets, so you can pump up your Titans Returns and your G1s, your G2s, everything, all the way up to the latest Studio Series, backdrops, an armory, all kinds of decals and stuff to enhance your collection. Check them out at toyhacks.com. And while you're mulling over which ones of these you want to get, you might want to take a look at this video over here, which is the evolution of Cyclonus. Worth checking out. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.